there.
They moved it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to advise those present that notice of this regular meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Hoboken has been provided to the public in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this regular meeting has been scheduled for Thursday, June 13, 2024, was given by publication of the meeting notice of the authority with amendments as necessary and was sent to the Jersey Journal, Star Ledger, and Star Ledger on Tuesday, June 4, 2024. As notifications to the general public of the meeting sent to the City Clerk of Hoboken on Tuesday, June 4, 2024, with a copy of the agenda to be posted on the bulletin board in City Hall, Hoboken Library, and Hoboken Police Department, and posted on the authority website on Tuesday, June 4, 2024. I direct the minutes of this meeting to state that I have announced that adequate notice of this meeting has been given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Can I have the sign-in sheet?
and roll call.
Oh, sorry, roll call.
David Edwards. Present. Anthony Forbes. Barbara Reyes.
Present.
Barbara Reyes.
Present.
Jean Rodriguez.
Present.
Michael Russo.
Present.
James Sanford. Erica Seitzman.
Present. Ray Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm here, for those that don't know me, my name is Ray Rodriguez. I am the founder of Amazing Truth Society. We are the only nonprofit karate and guitar program in Hoboken, period. So I wanted to give everybody an update of where we're going, what we're doing. Number one, we're about to launch NERF with the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and New Brunswick PD Narcotics. I'm very proud of that. I would like to, if possible, keep that going throughout the summer. The last Saturday of the summer, the last Saturday of every month from now until September, to talk to kids about guns, gangs, and drugs. It seems like there is a problem and no one wants to address it, but I've been addressing it since 2019. We've been having NERF, and even if I didn't get support, I always go against the grain anyway. So it so happens that I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. The second thing that I want to address is that this July 10th, I'll be working with the seniors. Self-defense class is called Unleash Your Inner Warrior Self-Defense Workshop. I'll be working with the seniors, so I'll be coming here to 221 Jackson. And then we have Gaming Lab on the 14th of July. That'll be every Sunday from July 14th all the way until the end of September again. And the kids can come. We purchased 8 televisions, and we've got 8 game consoles where the kids come in and they play for free. Football, basketball, whatever sport they want. There will be absolutely no foul language games. So that's out of the question. I know a lot of kids were asking me for some other games that I know have that kind of vulgar language. And then at the end of the day, September 15th, Sunday, we're back on track competing. So those kids that haven't been going to karate tournaments, we will once again start launching and going out competing, whether it's in Atlantic City, it doesn't matter. So I have a bunch of kids right now that are doing extremely well, and I would like to see how they do in competition. So that's my update for you guys. I will start competing as well, starting that date, the 15th of September. I'll be competing as well. I'm a warrior. That's it. I'm a warrior, and I've been a warrior since like 1973. I've been a warrior, and you know, it's time to put up or shut up. That's just the way I feel, and so my goal is to compete. Hopefully, like in 2019, I had a kid that was about to compete and try out for the Olympic team, and then COVID hit. And he's no longer with us. He's still one of my students. I love him to death. We didn't get that opportunity. I'm looking to do that again, hopefully before I retire completely. I would like to see at least one of the kids from the Housing Authority make it onto a team like that, whether it's a national team or, you know, I had some, but now they're all in college. I mean, they're all in high school trying to get scholarships. I wish I could do that for them, but I can't. So, who knows? With you guys behind me, anything's possible, you know what I mean? So, you know, at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe one day we'll have scholarships for these kids, and we'll have more kids in the program. So anyway, God bless you. Thank you for giving me these 5 minutes. We need to talk. I love you. I love you.
And I would just be remiss if I didn't say, Ray, you do step up. You do step up with our kids. And
Thank
just
you.
thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much. But it hasn't ended yet,
Yeah, I
you
know
know. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Roman?
Adrian Owens, 560 Marshall. My mother recently turned down an opportunity to lease an apartment through the Housing Authority at Fox Hill. She turned it down after hearing about the issues in that building and how the Housing Authority still has not taken care of the issues that have made it dangerous for residents in the building. I can attest to the issues at Fox Hill as I've attended the meetings in the last year, and residents of the building have made complaint after complaint, and nothing to date has been done, as the same issues still exist as per the last board meeting at Fox Hill. She missed out on an opportunity to have a unit. The elevator at 320 Jackson is in need of a complete overhaul, which should have taken place by now. My sister took the stairs yesterday to go to the store and ended up having an asthma attack, coming back up the stairs. Telling me that it may be fixed tomorrow isn't doing anything. My sister and others who need the elevator must now figure out how to get their groceries upstairs. DoorDash will not climb upstairs because I've gotten my customers calls saying that they don't bring it upstairs if there's no elevator. They just leave things in the hallway. That's FedEx, UPS, Postal Service. They won't climb stairs either. They just leave things in the hallway or right outside the building where stuff is stolen regularly because there are folks in the hallway that do not belong there and are removed and returned several times a week. And some have to cancel doctor's appointments or for physical therapy appointments. She had asked via text message for a transfer. I've already spoken with Frank. I will have her call tomorrow. And you have a resident services department for a reason. When something like this happens, your manager should reach out to resident services and assist those that need the help. My sister would be on that list, but no one's reached out to any of the residents, and not even my sister. Shame on your management for that. And for the management to suggest my sister go to the 10th floor, cross the building to access the elevator in 310 is absolutely insane. She's having trouble walking as it is. She's disabled. And for her to have to go up 5 flights, have an asthma attack, who knows what's on the roof, and then access, that just doesn't make any sense for disabled or seniors to do that. And to be suggesting that is insane. And the stairwell reeks of urine. You can go in that building any day of the week, and the stairwells reek of urine. It's like they haven't been cleaned in years. My son came to the last meet and greet and mentioned something about maintenance not cleaning. Yeah, still not clean. I shouldn't have to remind the staff that all floors need to be cleaned, not just the first floor, because it seems like he's only doing the first floor. That's unacceptable. Kicking of the back door continues. That hasn't stopped. The wait list opening, I don't know about that. I don't know when that's happening. And who gave management permission to change the lease in regards to the employees of the Board of Education who have no income during the summer? I took a picture of a flyer that was presented to a resident to fill it out. I don't recall that ever being done without Tenants Association or Resident Advisory Board input and put before the Board of Commissioners. So if managers are trying to make changes and they don't have approval to do so, something needs to be done.
Thank you. Patricia Waiters.
I promise you, okay? Patricia Waiters. I can speak on agenda items and probably, all right, let's go to page 2 on your agenda. And I'm just so applauded to see this on here. I want to give kudos to James Sanford. I don't know if you asking for an attorney on this resolution or is they asking for attorney against you. But that being said, like I think I said this last meeting, you know that you don't have the vote, but I'm asking you and encouraging you for the sake of me and these citizens, these residents, hang in there, okay? You know that right now the authority will be abused to try to remove you, which is totally wrong, but I want you to stay there and you fight it out, please. I hope this lawyer is on this agenda tonight in your defense. And then the resolution right under it, a resolution to terminate the executive director's contract. Let me say this. Mike, not you, I'm not referring this to you either, Jeannie, because you're newly to the board. And with the rumors surfacing about you has any type of influences on the manager's contract or whatever, this is not why I'm asking you to support this tonight. Let me tell you why. When you build up a vendetta against people in general, even with the dirty politics in Hoboken, professionalism cannot be performed. I don't care who you are and what you do for a living. When you politically appointed, you gotta be addressed to whatever the person that put you there said. So y'all know for years and years, and I'm the best candidate ever to sit on this board. I would have had housing authority change forever. We would have had some of our kids alive that's dead today. And y'all know that. But they built up this vendetta and slandered me and made Pat Waiters the enemy. I got the biggest heart in my chest. Y'all know that. Can I tell you why? I share with you, Sanford, I got 156 documents that your residents come to me in confidence, regardless to what y'all say. I sat at the table with you and you, Frank, and it broke my heart. Some of the very people that I advocated for is living in housing, and y'all intentionally ignored my son and daughter to bring pain and suffering. It's in my wounds, it hurts, it's sad. God forbid that could be my kid standing in housing every night, hanging around the people that drink and smoke and get high. He don't do that, but haven't he had his opportunity to get a unit? That's what housing authorities was established for, I just told you. He would be in school, it would be so much different. But this housing authority is a huge liability to my son and daughter. And I told Ms. Peterson, yes, I will prove it. So tonight, I want to share with you and everybody in here, full compliance. My son don't even have my last name. And Ms. Justinia, I feel bad for you managers because I'm not including you in this because you take direct orders from Mark Greco and Frank. My son was number 1. Then he was number 2. Then you called him for an apartment. And you knew they was maliciously coming after me. It's not too late to do what's right. Remember that. Remember what Malcolm X said. It may be my colleague. It may be my best friend. It may be my mom and dad. but it's never too late to say, I want to do what's right. Let's make this right. Okay? I don't want to be your friends. I don't want to have to call Jeannie in the middle of the night or Michael or Barbara and say, could you help? No, I follow the process. I don't need none of y'all like that. Because politicians, in the word friend, END is at the end. Remember that. So I always treat y'all with respect. I love y'all dearly, but vendettas gotta stop. Because when you take and you assassinate somebody's character and you defame their name, it hurts. I'd rather you call me the N-word. Because it hurts. Please, visit that iPass, Not All Hood. And that reminds me of what's going on here with the stereotypes and the way they treat housing for years. Got them locked in a cage. And I see commissioner after commissioner after commissioner come here and refuse to do the right thing. And Sanford, you one of the first that really got a backbone to try to help us. And I'm going to be with you foot and nail, whether they do what's right or wrong. I really appreciate your services. And unfortunately, they're trying to remove you. But that's going to speak within itself down the line. Okay? I'm not giving nobody my ammunition. You'll see. I'm going to show you facts. Because this is not called for. And I'll share it with you, Mike. I want to share it with each and every one of you. My son was in full compliance. I was your tenant, Mr. Recko. That's why I'm asking you to move. Your professionalism should speak volumes. You was the manager of Dove Meadows in Onslow County, Wilmington, North Carolina. You was my manager. When I was domestic violence, I flew back up here to go home. I'm wrapping it up saying this. I know your history. Just do what's right, please. Thank you, Ms. Reyes.
Gail Johnson?
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
My name is Gail Johnson,
Could you spell the last name?
Johnsson.
Thank you.
I'm here for 3 reasons. The first reason, I'm here about the pans, the garbage pans that they got across the street from my household. They put all the garbage and stuff in there. The garbage be overflowing. The man that comes to pick it up, he picks it up at 5 in the morning. There be cars parked there and stuff, and you got the rats getting the food, going underneath the cars and eating up the wires. Then you got the rats running inside the park. Kids can't even play in there. I had told Russo about this, and I told the director about this situation. We used to have it in back of the building. It was no problem. People were throwing their stuff back there and everything. Now, you got the whole project going over there throwing this garbage in there. And it's really bad. Really bad. So I would like to know what we're going to do about that.
Yeah, as you know, we don't go back and forth, but I think the director has that as part of his executive report.
Okay, I just want to know what y'all going to do about it. Because I'm scared of rats. And I turn around, they be running across my step and everything. I mean, come on now. I've been living in that place for 38 years. And I ain't never had this problem like we got a problem now. They used to take the stuff and throw it in the bag. Now it's all around the place. Okay, and another thing. I had told y'all about my apartment. I told you about the walls and all that stuff. They had took care of that, the walls and stuff. And I told you about the stove and the refrigerator, all that. And they charging me for the stove, the refrigerator, all the stuff they charged me for. It's on my rent. And I spoke to y'all before about this situation. Can I get an answer? Can somebody talk? Tell me something what's going
Our
on?
policy is not to cross-talk during this, during the presentations, and then we'll answer as part of my report.
Okay, that's all I gotta say.
Vanessa Falco.
Good evening, Commissioners. So, I'm here tonight because I am sad, upset, and disappointed. In this time where this community should be rebuilding, collaborating, uniting, and advocating for our residents, we have a chairwoman, Barbara Reyes, who is targeting and retaliating against me personally. And the reason this is happening, I can't help but think, is because I spoke out against the director at the city council meeting. I don't understand what Commissioner Reyes expected me to do. If any one of you commissioners were a director and this happened, this murder happened, I would pray that you would prioritize and see the importance of you being present. I don't understand how Commissioner Reyes would think that we as a community should be silent about that. And for that reason, you should not hold that against me. Because prior to that, we had a working relationship and I never had a problem with you. Never, never, ever. I've never done anything personally to harm you. And guess what? Despite what you've done to me, I still would not do that. Because this community is not about that. It doesn't have the time or the energy for that. But I had to come here tonight to address you because that is just not cool. As women, as leaders, I would never. I just would never. My mother is a member of the board of your employer, and I would never speak to her negatively about you for that reason. But that's not how you acted. You sent an email to my employer, and I would never jeopardize your job or your livelihood knowing that you have children just as I do, and that I have to provide for my children, but yet you want to try to jeopardize my employment. I am really astounded that you would do that, and personally offended. And honestly, it's an abuse of power. You sent an email to my employer with security footage. So you took the time to target me, to target me. You didn't look at security footage of any other activities going on in the Housing Authority, just me specifically, right? On a holiday. Let me remind you, I'm not working for the city on Memorial Day. I am a woman. My name is Vanessa Falco. I work for the city of Hoboken, but I'm a person. I'm a person that was born and raised in this community, and I will always advocate for my people of this community. I will always. And I will always go to the projects and be in the projects with my family, fellowshipping, talking, sharing time together. I will always do that and be a part of that. And for you to target and retaliate against me for that is really, really, it's just unacceptable. And so we talk about ordinances and me violating an open container ordinance. I wasn't walking around the Housing Authority with an open container, by the way, okay? I was seated in front of my friend's apartment, which we always sit in front of. That doesn't make it right or wrong. And had there been someone to bring that up, of course, hey, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong and I'm guilty. But I'll take responsibility for that. But before you come checking me, Ms. Reyes, check yourself. Because are you in violation of selling food outside of your apartment? Wait, no, don't respond because director said you don't go back and forth. So let me speak, right? Are you in violation? Council, is it legal and is it in the lease or violation to sell food out of your apartment in the housing authority on a HUD property. And wait a minute. The day that you open shop, okay, so you want to talk about, you don't want people, wait.
Thank you, Ms. Falco, your 5 minutes are.
Okay, the day, here it is. The day that you decided to open up shop is the day that was the day of Damon Murray's funeral. So you want to talk about my advocacy, but yet you chose to sell food on the day that that family was having a funeral. You aren't selling food to raise money. Yeah, I bet.
Have a good day.
You aren't.
Your 5 minutes are now up.
You weren't.
Thank you so much.
Here you go.
Have a good evening. And I will gladly
Please
give
let me know if
everyone-
that's a violation, because it's a
Thank
state
you.
violation. It's a state violation to sell food out of your home and you're not a business.
And that would
Thank you.
exactly
Sorry, I
go
didn't
for
mean to
every
throw this at
resident
you.
in the housing authority. that
Well, a
does.
lot of people should be addressed.
Thank you.
And why you not take that from her?
Okay, so motion to close public portion?
And I'm gonna leave, because I asked you to address me in person, but you chose not to.
Thank you, Ms. Falco. Have a good
Ms.
evening.
Falco, please stay. Ms. Falco, please stay.
No.
Ms. Falco, please stay.
Go.
Well, I'd like to make a
Excuse
motion.
me.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the
Vanessa, why you
agenda
made a motion?
to speak to Ms. Falco's
Wow,
concerns.
nice.
I received an email from the chair regarding this matter. I asked council for some guidance on it.
Excuse
I don't
me,
know
I'm
why
sorry.
the board or the commissioners were sent that email. So I would welcome a discussion.
Absolutely. I actually was going to address it after a public portion is now closed. Am I right?
I just walked in late. Can I
I
talk?
think that's the right.
So, well,
There's someone who wants to.
Please, I walked in late.
okay.
She walked in.
So if someone from the public still wants to speak, let's have them speak.
Okay. She has to
Just put your name on.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks so much. Yes. Okay, perfect. All right, thanks. Can I have your name?
Sonia Chadu.
Could you spell first and last?
SONIAOWCHARIW. I can go? Okay, great. I'm here,
One second,
Yes.
can I have the people in the audience quiet, please?
quiet.
So we can have respect for the person speaking, please?
yes, I haven't spoke in a year because I wanted to sit back and kind of take things in. It's been a long journey for me. I kind of share some I got into Fox Hills because I'm a cancer survivor. I got into Fox Hills because I have an ultra-rare disease that causes blood clots, and I have to go back to John Third Cancer Center. I still see people smoking at Fox Hills. I feel intimidated. I feel bullied. I feel moments I'm being gaslighted by neighbors and things. When I first moved into Fox Hills, I came from Hoboken shelter because of things that had just happened with my health, and I couldn't keep a job, and I fell behind on my car payments, and then one thing led to another. But when I moved into Fox Hills, the first type of disagreement I had with a neighbor, and I'm just giving background to kind of lead up to something, because I haven't talked in a year. But I had a dispute with the neighbor next door to me. He was drinking, he yelled at me. I got scared. Did I want to go to the office and say something? No, I didn't want to say anything, so I just let it go. There seems to be something at Fox Hills that if you want to complain about something, there's going to be some form of retaliation. I just had a conversation with someone, and I was there on Friday's meeting with Frank and Director Mark Greco, and I spoke about the SWAT team being there in November. I don't know if that was handled nicely. I think it was an overkill by Hoboken police. They should have evacuated everybody on the 10th floor, but nonetheless, it happened, it's over, that's it. But I spoke to a resident in the past month, week, and she said, I'm not gonna say anything about anybody smoking weed in my building. I don't wanna end up hurt. She actually said killed. She goes, I want somebody to hurt me in the elevator. I walk around that building, I see things, I've spoken up. I had somebody on May 2nd speak to me in the lobby after I don't know his name, I think it's Mr. Chang, Mr. Chung. He's constantly screaming, I feel bad for him. I think it should be addressed, I don't know if it has, but when he's outside screaming on Willow, I'm concerned if he can get hurt. Well, on May 2nd, a male person and I were talking, and then one discussion of his concern, my concern for Mr. Chang, led to him saying to me, you have a big mouth, and if I wasn't a man, I'd beat your ass. Now, I'm also a victim of domestic violence, and I've heard some allegations about somebody who used to live in that building, and the man I dated is from Hoboken. On October 28th, I'm going back, 2020, I was having concerns about my safety, was still being stalked after I left Hoboken. On October 28th, and I know my timeline, on October 28th of 2020, I called all town council in Hoboken to talk about the problems that I had downtown with Newman Leathers and how they didn't handle someone being fired for drugs. Somebody got fired for drugs. He's implanted in Hoboken. He's got ties with people with Hoboken. He's got ties with Hoboken Housing Authority. I'm 54 years old. I have to go back to John Third Cancer Center and make a decision about a drug that can give me side effects. I have to worry about my safety still. There's something wrong with Hoboken, that the retaliatory nature is that it continues, it festers. Other people join in on it, and I'm tired of it. I can't walk, I can't breathe. I did a blood transfusion at John Third Cancer Center. I got a huge hematoma. I have to worry about blood clots, and I have to walk into Fox Hills, seeing people smoking. I did see somebody with a brown bag, liquor. I'm not going to say anything. You know why? I'm so exhausted. I'm tired of it. It has to change. I don't know if you need to go into the applications of people. I don't know if you need to recertify them. I don't know if you need to call Hudson County Social Services. Is my time up?
Yes.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sanford, for your question.
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Director, call the vote.
David Edwards.
Yes.
Anthony Forbes.
Yes.
Barbara Reyes.
Yes.
Gene Rodriguez.
Yes.
Michael Russo.
Aye.
James Sanford.
Yes.
Erica Sykes.
Yes.
Motion to suspend the agenda to discuss Ms. Falco's matter.
Absolutely. Motion.
Yeah, motion. Second.
Call the vote, Director.
Discussion, David Edwards. Excuse me. Anthony Forbes.
No.
Barbara Reyes. Gene
I'm sorry,
Rodriguez.
Barbara, what was your no?
No.
Michael Russo. James Sanford.
Yes.
Erica Sykes.
No.
That was a weird vote.
Now that just proved on the record, I don't care about none of these minutes. Don't.
I'd just like to say, Ms. Falco, if you want to reach out to me, you're welcome.
No, we good. We good. Let's go.
Director?
Let's go. I just need people need to wait. Come on, let's go. This is crazy as Christmas. Come on now, and Mike said yes, remember that.
Can I address the board?
That's crazy.
Can I address the board?
You're the chair. Of course.
So first and foremost, before I did this, I did reach out to Ms. Falco. I text her, I have a text message, where I asked her, because what she's failing to say in this whole issue.
If a minute, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I thought we took a vote to discuss it and then the vote did not carry.
Okay, did it carry? So do you want me to say it or
Well,
not? I don't have a
I do. I wanted
I can go
everybody to
into
be
the
here
next,
to talk
I'll
about
come in the next meeting and stand there as my resident and take my 5 minutes and say what I have to say. That's all. Doesn't matter.
All right, well, if you want to keep going, I'll listen.
Okay, thank you. So what was failed to say is that prior to me taking this action, The reason it was taken was because on the date in question where the video was taken, I was going to my kid's grandmother's house. As I was walking there was people sitting on the stoop, and there were people there that don't speak to me, and I think I've made this very clear, that there's people that like me and that don't like me, and I'm okay with either or, you know? Whether they like me or don't like me, if they approach me and ask me for help and I can help, I'm always available. If they don't, that's their choice and their prerogative. I can't change that. With that being said, I had already, approaching it, I said, well, those that will say hi to me, I will say hello, and those that do not, I will just walk into the building because I was going to visit someone. As I'm approaching the building, the tenant, who's very nice and I know her, she was very sweet, she said hello. I said hello, how are you? There was another, I don't know if she was a tenant or not, I don't know her specifically. She said, hi sweetie, how are you? I said, I'm good, thank you, have a good day. Miss Falco was not even sitting where she was at that moment. I was walking in. She turns around, she decides she's gonna yell. Well, when you walk in somewhere, you say hello.
That is not what I said.
Yes, you did.
I did
Barbara,
not. I said you're not going to
And
speak,
this
Barbara.
is not back and forth. This
Right,
is
so
not
I'll
back
come
and
to the
forth.
next meeting so
Thank
that I
you.
can say my part.
Thank you.
Because unless I can
Thank
speak
you.
again after
Thank
her.
you, no.
That's
Thank
wrong.
you.
That's bias.
So
You
with that
being
being
biased.
said,
Attorney,
no,
can I-
excuse me, can I speak? With that being said, because she was aggressive, I turned around and
Not
I said
aggressive.
to her,
Retaliated
yes,
and
she
she
was
wrote
very
this.
aggressive.
I'm sorry, I'm doing
I
my
turned
job.
around and said to her, Miss Falco, what is it, Vanessa? Do you want me to say hello to you specifically? That's exactly what I said. And I turned around and I said, hi, Vanessa. And I turned and continued up the stairs to go to my kid's grandmother's house. That was all that happened. Vanessa and I have never had an issue prior to this. Now, my issue came into play when the way she approached me that day was kind of out of character. I had seen her a few weeks prior. At City Council. I said hello. She didn't say a word to me. I was walking with the director. She didn't say anything. Okay, in my eyes, you didn't say anything to me. I didn't know what happened, whatever. I was not going to approach my kid's grandmother's home and say hello when I had already said hello and she hadn't answered. So I left it alone. Because of the way she spoke to me, I did ask, I wanted to know what was going on. I did see, as I was walking, I did see cups and so forth. So I said, I wonder what was going on there. Did I not, Director Oprah, correct?
Yes.
The video for that specific day, right? I did. I Oprah'd it just like I have the right to. I Oprah'd it, and when I obtained the videos showed that Miss Falco was not only sitting there congregating with her friends, which everyone has the right to. She was there with an open container, sharing a bottle of liquor with the individuals that were there. And to me, as a taxpayer and as a resident of the Housing Authority, and as someone who has continuously been attacked about everything that happens down there, my thing is, you cannot sit here and say that you're advocating for us when you are part of the problem. Half of the problems that are happening down there with the violence, with the gun violence, with the murders, all stem from liquor. So let's stop putting our hands over the sun and acting like this is not happening. Because everybody knows that. I will also say that as a resident, have I always been the best resident? I probably have not. And in the past, I probably have done the same thing. Sat outside and had a drink. I probably have. But since I have sat on this role, since I have sat in this seat and given this responsibility to no one say that I do that. Because if I want to have a drink, I have an entire bar in my house, and I have Washington Street where I can go to any bar that I'd like to. That's number one. My second problem is Miss Falco is a director.
I'm not a director.
She is,
Get my position title straight.
I did, I Googled it.
I'm not a director.
I Googled it.
I'm not a director.
When I sent the email, I Googled the title, and it said director, exactly what I put on the email.
My title does not say director.
Okay, when I Googled it,
Councilman Russo, am I a director?
Miss Falco.
Councilman Russo, am I a director?
You are not.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
Could it, and I hate to interrupt you, Madam Chair.
And to James's point, I thought that's why it was appropriate that we have this conversation, because I'm sure we all may have something to say.
Yes.
Right?
So do Vanessa.
I understand that. And the worst part about this is that we have two amazing women who are advocating for a constituency in this city that a lot of people do not.
And you're right, Michael, but the difference, Michael, I
understand.
don't mean to interrupt you. The difference between Vanessa and I is that I live there.
So what?
I wake up to that every day. When someone's murdered there, I'm not called and told to get out of bed to walk down there to get it. No, I'm called and I walk out my door and I'm right there.
Okay, but you didn't tell the director to come in front of your door, and he's the director. And that's why you're mad at me. So just say that.
I'm not mad at you because of that. I am not mad at you.
You are.
That is your opinion. My opinion as a resident and not as a housing authority chairwoman is this. I feel that you betrayed the housing authority when you gave up your seat as your city councilwoman. This is my opinion as a resident, and I have every right to say it. You were in a position of power to make the change that needed to be done down there, and you chose money.
You don't know what I chose.
And a title over advocating for us. Because as a councilwoman and as an African American councilwoman, you had every ability to rise up for us.
I want to say one thing. This is not the place to talk about this, Barbara. If you had an issue with me from 3 years ago when I accepted my position,
I am tired as a resident of hearing people come down there to advocate for us, but are part of the problem. That very same council meeting that we were at, the director and I went there to implore the city council to please pass the ordinance for open containers, because we knew that every violence and everything that was happening down there stemmed from alcohol. How can you say that, sit there and stand there and say that you're advocating for us when the very 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later you're standing right in the housing authority, my community where I live, drinking alcohol, the very same thing we were advocating against. You cannot honestly say that you were true.
I just want to say, and then I'm going to leave. I want to say that, Barbara, if you had an issue with my position that I've been in for 3 years, you could speak to me personally. You don't need to bring up, you are hashing out emotions from 3 years ago about what you think I should do with my life. Yes, you are. That's fine. And that is fine. But guess what? In the bottom of guess what? I would never still, regardless of what you feel about me, I still would never email your employer and jeopardize your livelihood. That was dead wrong.
It was not
dead
wrong. You are a paid
Whatever.
employee
I want to
of the
know
city.
if she can sell food out of her house. And does she report
it,
that income when she gets recertified?
I will gladly report it. Whatever I made, Director, I will gladly report it. And with that being said, on Vanessa's point is, she's absolutely right. If one can't, none can. Because I can bring up plenty of posts of individuals who sell food at the housing authority. So I will gladly do that. I have no problem with that. I should be upheld just like every other resident, right? Because if the tables were turned, let's be honest, if I was sitting out there having a drink with a bottle, they would be right here doing the same thing to me and attacking me and saying, how could I be part of the solution if I'm part of the problem? And Russo, with all due respect, I apologize for interrupting you, but the truth of the matter is that I live there. I live there. I'm sick and tired, and I said it at the last meeting. I'm sick and tired of everybody that doesn't live there want to come down there when a murder happens, when something bad is happening. Where are you all the other time? Where is everybody all the other time? Where are they? Where are they? Because I don't see them. I don't see them. I don't. And I live there. I don't. And we all know this. The same way they say about the politicians, Michael, you get it all the time, right? When do you go down there? When it's an election, right? Is that what they say? Or when something happens, right? Because it's a photo op, right? That's what they say. And that's how I feel about the fake advocacy that's happening down there. And I'm not going to keep quiet. I stand by what I say. And this board can do however they want or whatever they want. I will gladly, it is what it is. I'm not going to be told to be quiet or keep quiet or just, keep taking it. I think half the people here don't even know what I go through on a daily basis down there, but I still do it every single day. Every single day. So, yes, did I send the email to the employer? I absolutely did, and I stand by it, and I would do it to any other city employee that goes into my community to do the things that are affecting me and my children in my community. So thank you.
Just James, I'm just having a problem hearing.
Oh, yeah. So my question is, whether it be for the chair or for the board or for council, since this was sent to all of us, thank you for sharing. Are we being asked to do anything?
No, this was just, the reason I sent this email was to let everyone know where we stand, right? Because everyone comes here. We have new commissioners here who don't know anybody, right? And they see somebody coming here and advocating, but they don't know what happens behind closed doors, right? Or what happens on the other side. It was just information to share, right?
Well, the reason I asked the point that you made is, what is the status of the open container?
The status is, it was passed.
If you're at the housing authority or you're in the city, do we have to do something?
No, it was passed.
7 days, it'll be
Yes.
either signed or automatically go into law if not.
But again,
so this happened before this actually becomes
However, I'd like to
enacted.
be clear that the housing authority policy is clearly no open container.
So the housing authority policy.
And again, listen, I need to say something because I truly think we're worse off right now than we were before this happened. I think you have people who are so passionate about their advocacy, and no matter what the right or the wrong is, you have two amazing people that are trying to do the best they can and advocate for a community that most don't. It has to be said. But I also think it's important, and I had this conversation with a different commissioner about a different issue, that I think it's healthy at times for people to hash out differences. I don't have a problem with that. But I think where we will fail if we do not overcome that is if we can't get past it and continue to advocate for our community. I think that's where we fail. So ultimately, I'm sure feelings are hurt on both sides. I'm sure people feel that they were justified in whatever they did on both sides. I understand all that. But we got to get back down to business. And I think some conversations, I'm sure, should happen offline, but it's not my call. That is their call. And I would hope that that would happen, and I'd hope that we could figure that out. But we need to move this board forward at every meeting, and we need to move what we're trying to accomplish forward at every meeting. One step, just one step. That's all we need to take every time. So again, it sucks that it happened. Feelings are hurt. People are upset. But we need to get past it and move on. My 2 cents, and I hope that that would happen. And I won't say anything.
No, I absolutely agree, but I also want to put on the record that this was not a retaliatory act, because I see that constantly that word continues to come up. I have never been retaliatory against anybody. Because people don't see me here attacking the director does not mean that I do not hold him accountable for the things that he's doing or not doing. I'm not saying that. I just feel there's a time and a place, right? I did what I did. I did send the email out, and the only reason I sent it out is because as a resident, I have the right to do that. Yes, I hold the title as chairwoman, but that does not take my residency away. As a resident, I have every right to say what's affecting me and my community. And again, I will say it again. People go down there to advocate when murders happen or something else, but every other single day that everybody that lives there knows things are going on, no one is down there giving their face and saying, well, this is what's happening. I think the majority of the calls either go to Jeannie, to myself, and now to Michael, because everyone's at war, or at war because Barbara now is starting to speak
and have boundaries, right?
I call you
So,
first,
so
right?
that's
All
the
time.
problem.
I call you all the time.
So again, I just want that on the record, that it was not a retaliatory reason.
I show you.
And I'm passionate because I live there. And no one's gonna take that away from me. No one will ever. When I used to sit there 20 years ago, stand there and say exactly the same things, Michael, because you were on this board. And I would argue with everything I had against every director, every commissioner. Yeah, I've been there. And I'm still there because I'm sitting here. It doesn't make me any different. I'm still a resident and I still get affected. They go back. So does it make it okay that they come to my community and do it? Is it okay for me to go to where they live and do it? Sit there and drink and hang out and cause fights and argue with the residents and the neighbors? Is that okay? Let's look at it that way. Thank you.
Director's
report, right? Yes, Director, your report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. As you approved last month, we've opened the 311 Community Room as a drop-in center for our youth. It's been named the 10 Reasons Youth Center. I'd like to thank Chairwoman Reyes for all the incredible work you've done with that group. It is slowly growing and is growing well and as intended. It's another person joins, another young man or woman walks in, gets to talk to some folks that are more mature, that have been through some things before, gets to exchange some ideas, maybe play some Uno, start to interact. It's really been successful, and I'd like to thank you all for backing that. We have been, that room is for that use. We have been also buying a little food for those get-togethers to keep them going, and we're talking to the group, which by the way is some relatives of a relative of Nunu, as well as his friends, that we're talking about maybe a small bit of compensation for them to be there at all times. So we're going to be meeting with them to talk about that, because we want to keep this up and running with the guidance of a great group from Jersey City.
Correct. So the Guasabara Insights have been a part of it. And again, I think I said this at the last meeting. These are individuals who were formerly incarcerated. They come out and they just try to give back to the community. They can communicate with our community, right? And get them to understand that the road they are going or the path that they may be taking may not be the right one, right? And that now you have the opportunity, if you've never had any legal issues, you now have the opportunity to be able to change. So I think we're trying to get them before they get to the legal aspect of it. So there's one gentleman there right now who comes every time we're there. He's an older gentleman, and he's been talking to the older kids, right? I think something that is tremendous, and I think we've heard it over and over. I think you've heard it at City Council, and we've heard it here and at every meeting, that we don't have nothing for the youth. And last night I was just showing, during our meeting last night, I was showing Councilman Russo. I said, Councilman Russo, we're doing it. We're getting those kids that we thought we never would get. So with that being said, it's not just the little kids. We had the young kids there. But to know that we had the 17 to about 22, 23 in that room for 3 hours, to me, it's an accomplishment that's never been made, right? Because they're usually in the streets. And if we can keep them out for 3 hours doing something positive and mentoring the younger kids, because there's 2 adults, myself and another lady who are there, keep them doing that, let's do it, right? It's an outlet, right? And we welcome anyone. It's not just, it's an open door policy, it's word of mouth. The doors open at 6 and they close at 9. So that's just,
thank you. Thank you, Barbara. That's been a great push. And by the way, if anyone wants to start raising their hand to provide some food on Monday or Wednesday nights for the group, a nice big plate of ziti or spaghetti. You did that already. It's a great contribution. I have been holding a round of meet and greets at our sites. I've held these meetings so far at Andrew Jackson, Harrison, Christopher Columbus in Foxville, Adams and Monroe will be next week. I'm sorry we had to cancel, but we rescheduled for next week. Based on resident request at Harrison and Andrew Jackson, we expect to have a special security-related meeting in July at Andrew Jackson Harrison. I'm coordinating that with the police, and we're going to be talking specifically about security there. Fox Hill certainly had some issues, but I think by the time, and Ms. Sonia spoke at that meeting, and as I told her there, we hear her. Things aren't always perfect when you're living with 200 other families. It's often difficult. But in the end at that meeting, I think the consensus is that we all have our role to play. And residents have to speak up when they see that car that's parked illegally, when they see that that person that may have a brown bag in the lobby. You know, you don't have to identify yourself. You can go to the manager or Frank or call me. I have my cell phone number, and say, look, at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon we saw so-and-so and he was smoking or drinking in the lobby. We can take action on that. So it takes all of us. It takes all of us if we're going to tackle these problems. And I think overall, with our good list of things we're going to be doing over at Fox Hill, we had a successful meeting at all places so far. I will be publishing a job opening for a new position that I intend to call the Modernization Coordinator, Reasonable Accommodation Specialist. We are going to be incorporating that into next year's budget for your approval as we go into the next fiscal year. This will take what has been up to now duties performed by our CFO, Emil, off his slate of duties. One of the things it will accomplish is to be able to let Emil focus more clearly on the budget and redevelopment issues as we're being a redevelopment partner, and it will give us that specialist in reasonable accommodation. I've recently been to a training Frank and I went to on reasonable accommodation. There's a new law on the Section 504 reasonable accommodations. They're coming for housing authorities. If you don't have this position in place, someone well-trained, one of the offshoots of that is your website has to be completely accessible. We're already working on that, but we need somebody on staff that's a specialist in reasonable accommodation. So this position is somebody that would be looking over our contracts, looking over our unit turnover work, etc. So you will see me moving to look for that person as we go into the next year. I will expect that over the next couple months as we go to our next fiscal year, you're going to see some reorganization on my part that I'll be coming to the board with, first the Personnel Committee, and then on from there. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of reorganization, and I'll share that with you. I should have opened up by saying that, yes, I used the old committee structure for this meeting. So it was like half and half, right? The old committee, half of the new committee. So this is the last time you'll see this committee structure. Our new committee structure will be for next time, and I did pass out the new committee appointments before the meeting. Frank and I did attend the annual FATA conference from June 1st to 5th. It was just incredibly valuable. We had high-level briefings on the new HOTMA regs, which are huge. The new HIP system from HUD, that's their main computer system. New reasonable accommodation regulations, HUD redevelopment guidance, and much more. We went to a presentation on the redevelopment process that New Orleans has gone through. And we were, I think, shocked at how much it resembled ours. So after the meeting, we walked up and asked the developer that had been with them for 15 years, where should we go first? We're going to get an Uber, and we're going to go out and see what you've done. He said, no, you're not. He said, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll take you on a personal tour. And he did. And he took just Frank and I on a personal tour of what they did. We went into the offices. We went into units. We saw exactly what they did. And the big message that I came out of there with was, we are on the right track. This takes time. If you want to do it right, you want to take the steps.
Not too much time.
Not too much time. Right, but it does. And we all want to push. but you've got to do that redevelop, you've got to do that strategic plan. They're like, they looked at our strategic plan and they're like, absolutely, right on target. Redevelopment plan, right on target. Part 58, environmental, everything they're ticking off. So it was really, really valuable. And then unfortunately, right after that, I had to leave again for a number of days because of a personal issue with death in the family. And so last week was a tough week and kind of, so if I was late on anything, I apologize. Our Hoboken Housing Forward update. The city administration has agreed to proceed with our environmental review known as Part 58 at all of our public housing sites. This will be going to City Council, I believe, in the coming week. Thanks, Councilman Russo, for your support and push on that. That's a major step for us, not only in achieving all of our, what they call CHAPS for RAD and Section 18, but also for our Section 18 applications that they're required for. So thank you for that. The new RFP, the RFP for development partners was published on June 10th. Yay, it went out. Yes, huge, huge, months of work. And thank you for all that that participated.
Director, could you send that to all of us too, so we can see that?
Of course, if you don't have it, of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, absolutely. That will be due back in mid-July. And similar to the last time when we did a pre-approval on developers, according to our policy, I will be bringing a group together to evaluate proposals and make a recommendation to this board. So board members will sit on it, other folks will sit on it, community members, RAD board members, the city, we will all have that part in doing that review. So that's coming up. It'll probably be taking place in August. And again, they have, in my view, a fairly free hand in reviewing to make their recommendation, and I highly say, and I've heard this before, if they're interested and they want to go down to another city to look at what a developer did, we're gonna make it happen, so we can get our hands on the best developer we possibly can. Our project-based vouchers, we have received a response on both the VASH and single room occupancy project-based voucher. We are going to get together with our Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Committee to review those, and we expect that we will have a recommendation back to the board in July. The city ordinance we spoke of earlier, thank you to the city for passing that. That gives the Hoboken Police Department the right to enforce city open container laws on our property. So I would really like to thank again Councilman Russo for your hand in that. It always goes a long way. We are going to be going out to rebid or bid for the next time our security services at our elderly disabled sites. I know we've worked hard with that company. There has been some issues, but we'll be looking at some new bids on that. I continue to meet with the residents on a personal basis. Please come in. Please come and see me if you've got issues. I know many of you call me on a regular basis, many of the commissioners, but also some of the residents that I talk to regularly. As you know, I've been an ED in an urban environment for many, many years, and in my career, most of my career, and those meetings are just super important. We learn a lot from the residents that come in, and the residents learn a lot from us, so please come on in and talk to us. Housing for Hoboken will be meeting on July 16th. We had a delay in that meeting due to scheduling conflicts, I will be publishing an invitation for submission of applications to be a community trustee. That should be going out in the coming week. If you remember, we have one member that's a community trustee, so talk to your friends and neighbors if anyone wants to put in as a community trustee. Special projects, the defensible space fencing is in front of you tonight for a resolution. Again, that is behind our buildings from 208 to 400 Marshall. The Harrison Courtyard project, unfortunately, we have a resolution to reject the bids. We'll have to be rebid. We can talk about that at resolution time. The Adams Garden generator replacement is complete, but we are waiting a date from PS&G to do the gas pressure on it. And as soon as that's done in Christopher Columbus, we'll be able to fire up those emergency generators. Replacement of boilers at 655 6th Street, 501 Marshall, 540 Marshall, 320 Marshall is essentially complete, but we're waiting. We were waiting for the end of the heating season to bring the chemical feeders online and blow down the tanks, and so that will be happening over the next month or so. The work on the Monroe boiler replacement is in process. They're going strong over there. As part of the allocation of capital fund for $3.5 million, that special allocation, the security camera installation, yay, is under construction. I say yay, but they did hit a cable line or something the other day, so we got that fixed. But because they're drilling through each floor. They're drilling through each floor to bring the camera feeds up. So that started. We do want the hallway and stairwell refurbishment to follow the security camera installation, because they're going to create a bit of a mess in the stairwells, so that's coming. And the exterior door replacement is in the design phase. We're almost done. I actually said no to one design, so they went back and are looking for another door for us. We have been working with the City of Hoboken on the planned renovations additions to the Mama Johnson Field. We've been meeting regularly. The engineers working for the city think that the work can be done with minimal or no interference with ongoing activities at the field. Two major initiatives: the addition of a scorekeeper box raised behind home plate, and renovations at our postal building that will include restrooms, permanent restrooms. Some mailboxes will have to be relocated to around the corner from there, but we're working that out. The mayor did publish an announcement regarding the field refurbishment out of CDBG funds, and he also announced that I didn't know yet, although we applied. We're very, very happy that the city is granting us some dollars to do gates at the Horseshoe, lighting around the Horseshoe and other places throughout, playground resurfacing, and some rodent-resistant trash receptacles. This might be a good time to mention rodents. It comes up later in my report. But we are looking at moving those bins, right? The dumpsters. Thank you. Sheesh. We're moving those dumpsters back to the back. We got to pour one small pad. So we got to pour the pad. But yes, that is going to happen. That's in process. But I think the real answer is this new system of trash receptacles. So what we're working with the city, we've worked for a couple months now, and I was really pleased to see the city approve this in their CDBG money. We're going to have rodent-resistant trash receptacles. The kind of trash bin that when you put it in, it closes, right? So the rodents can't get in. And the large ones are going to have a door facing the street, so the city can come open the door, take out the bigger trash, dump it, put it back in, and move on. And what's going to face the sidewalk or the playground or the street will be a place for your recycles, paper, plastic, and then a place for your trash with big doors.
We don't need that.
So
We
that's...
need to have that wall to the back. We don't need none of that here.
There's no,
Even with the trash in the back, the rats are going to be partying. So we're fighting it tooth and nail. We have a problem with our smaller waste bins along Jackson and along Harrison and other places. The rats go in there also. I also want to remind everyone, the rats are everywhere in Hoboken.
We don't live everywhere.
I know that, and we're working as hard.
Worry about that.
We're working as hard as we possibly can. We're pulling out all the stops. To me, this is the most important thing we can do now, is to contain our trash so the rats can't get to it. So that's in process. and we're going to push as hard as we can on that. On management, we're working toward the full institution of the new HOTMA regulations before January of 2025. All I'll say on that is it's a ton of work nationally. I've never seen a time when HUD's got more regulations coming down the pike than this year. So they're putting in the new regulations. Our whole software system's got to be revamped, and HUD's software system has got to be revamped to include the new changes. So it's really a lot of work for our staff. The HUD system will be shut down for a number of months. I just can't emphasize how much work this is for management. So we look forward to the residents cooperating with us as we go through this change. And Mr. Merchant, I might pass it over to you then to talk about your snapshot and your occupancy reports.
Thank you, Director. I want to start first by saying our trip to New Orleans was so informative and I think so helpful in what we're doing. I'm going to put together something that I'll pass around to everybody on the board, which I think was super helpful, which is a combination of the slides from the folks who gave us a tour and some of our things that we learned here. But most importantly, to the Director's point, you know, whenever you're going to have a surgery or whenever you're going to go through something big in life, it's nice to see someone who went through it and get their testimonies and be able to ask what were some of their hardships and what are some of their successes. And I think that, you know, tonight's conversation and what we've been working on kind of brings us back to that point. One of the biggest things was the communication and the partnerships. And basically the class that we went to for that was called How to Make Wins. How to make wins out of redevelopment. And basically what it came down to was that, no, we can't do it just with the housing authority. And no, we can't do it with just the city. And we can't do it with just the state. And we can't do it with just the county. That we have to do it with every single one of them. And we have to be a core group together. And Commissioner Rosen, to your point, yes, I think that what you said was right on point. I think that everybody that's in this room is only here because you care. Every single person. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be here, whether it's on this side or on that side. So how can we take that energy that we all have and put it to good use? And how can we make these partnerships? Because every single person here is super valuable and has some expertise and something that they can bring to the table. So as we are trying to do our best to conform with all these things, with the HOTMA changes, the PIC changes, and all the regulations that are just standard things that are going to happen, we have to come together for this other stuff. And if we don't do it, we're only biting at each other's ankles, and it's not going to help us. But the truth of the matter is that we need these partnerships, and we need to solidify them. As you can see, and also part of the discussion of how we can make things better when we bring up things in these meetings. This chart that now you guys have now, which is going to be monthly, is going to always give you 6 months back on top of your report. I think that is a great tool so that you guys can see the trends and the differences in where we're going. And so the last column there, the grayed out one, is just the average for the last 6 months.
I'm sorry, Frank, I'm just having a problem.
Sure.
I don't know if you can come up here.
Sure.
Yeah, just come, and then, that's great. Thank you. So see the trends?
Yeah, so you can see the trends better here.
Yeah,
I think it's on. All right. So it allows you to see where we've been, how we've been. The last 6 months has been pretty stable, pretty steady. Our numbers, our occupancy and our PIC numbers are looking very good for where we need to be, and we're going to make them even better. But as we go through this, please know that every step that we take and every time that we try to make something right, someone's going to feel targeted or upset or feel like we did something against them. It's very hard to do what we do. Please know that at every turn, if your car gets towed, if we ask you to add somebody that's not in the lease, if we enter into a repayment, if we talk about any of these things, it's not because we want to be upset with you or we want you to be upset with us. Let's just do it right. And at every turn, every one of us has that chance to do the right thing with our residents, with our neighbors, with our friends. And I gotta say, the letters that went out this month, I think did a lot of good. We had a lot of families who came forward and added people that were not on the lease otherwise. And that's what we're looking for. We understand, and we have to get a little bit more clarification on who are the people that can, just because someone's been in your household and now you want to present them to add them, thank you. But maybe they don't qualify to be added. Maybe that's why you've never added them to begin with. Because unfortunately there are rules and regulations that we need to follow to be able to get to add somebody in and to do things. And of course, it always seems like something, and it always feels like someone got a treatment and someone else didn't. But we can't get into particulars, and we want to respect everybody's privacy, and it's just difficult. But in spite of all that, that's all the bad stuff. The good stuff is the center that was opened, right? The good stuff is that I walk around and the housing authority is looking cleaner by the day. I really appreciate, I know that the managers are working really hard right now and have called in a lot of people to come in to recertify. And the recertification numbers, for any time at this point, we're ahead. Obviously, we're ahead because of HOTMA, so maybe we're behind because of HOTMA, but we're actually ahead of our regular pace. And I do thank the tenants that are coming in. And I do thank the people that have got into repayment agreements. And Matt is going to be able to speak a little bit on this, or it'll come up that, yes, we've been struggling with getting court dates, but that's because of the backlog that was existing in the system. As of right now, as part of this report, you see that 38 families are about to get court dates, right? That might be one batch that's going to happen all at the same time. Obviously,
where is that?
At the bottom of this is in the snapshot. So one of the court dates. So as of right now, we have about 69 families that are in the queue. The queue is things that we, as the housing authority, have now uploaded to the attorneys, right? Then through there's a process that has to happen from there. The last batch, which was the 38 that have been going in, those are the first ones that we're going to get dates for, hopefully next week. And then once we have some dates, we'll be in court with these families. At that point, families will have an opportunity to enter into a repayment agreement, and hopefully they'll have to put a little money down, but they'll still have an opportunity. We don't want anyone to be displaced. We want to get everyone to be right under lease, and part of it is the rent collection. If we don't collect the rent, we can't get there. 30% of our money that we need to operate comes from rents. So we need tenants to pay the rent for us to be able to give you the services back. So with that being said, as you're getting these notices about, which I'll go into next, I know that another big thing that didn't come up tonight, but I know it is a big problem for a lot of folks, is the dogs, right? Dogs that are walking around, whether they have a leash or not, whether they're big or not, whether they're registered. Well, you know, I thank Officer Collins is here. Over this weekend, I did get some calls, and the police was trying to find out from us if we, as part of our lease, if we have the same type of rules as the city, because they wanted to understand if it was part of our lease. And yes, our lease points to Municipal Code 93-2, which is the pet ordinance, where it's the same. If you're a Hoboken resident, it's the same no matter where you live in Hoboken. Yes, on private property, you also have to follow 93-2 because it's part of our lease. So we're going to send a reminder tomorrow to everybody, including the language of the lease. And then what we're going to start to take action is on what we see on video. So if families are not reporting their dog and we see you walking a dog coming out of your apartment, you're going to get the letter telling you that and we're going to start sharing this information with animal control and with the Board of Health. Tomorrow, we have our first set of inspections with the Board of Health and Animal Control. We're going to go to apartments that we have already identified that have animals that have an issue right now, and that'll be the first step. And with that, that's going to be the blueprint, and then we're going to set a schedule where we're going to start going. So I hope folks with dogs come forward, because just like DIFUS, we cannot go to a household, even if we see that something's not right. We would call the police would then intervene, right? We cannot remove children from a household. We cannot remove a pet. A pet, to some households, is like their children. And unfortunately, the dogs need to be registered. There is a limit to what kind of dogs and what size dogs and how many dogs you have in the unit. So This is one of the least compliance issues that will be coming forward, and please just understand, the goal is to keep everybody safe and just to be on the same foot as the entire city with the dog control issue. So if anybody has any questions on this item.
So, I would like to point out, with everything else Frank said, the occupancy remains high. Huge success story from where we were 18 months ago. So thank you. I mean, that says a lot to maintenance and management. So that's some of the meat and potatoes here. Now we collect more rent. Now we do better in all aspects. The downside is we don't have as many units as we used to for transfers. That's tough. So folks who want transfers, when we had 100 vacant units, puts myself, now it's shorter. But nonetheless, this is what we should be doing as housing people. And I'm proud to see that we're among the best in the state on our occupancy percentage. So, anything else on
Yes,
that?
I have a question.
Yes.
The apartments that are vacant, how come they're not getting turned over? You know, there was local 55, now we don't have local 55 anymore?
Yes, we do.
Well, I don't know, the apartments in this building aren't going nowhere.
We only have, and I don't have a breakdown by site here, but
Because I never see them working.
in May, we've only got 13 units. Housing Authority wide in turnover. It's only 13. So,
Do we know how many we have empty here though?
I just said I don't know if I have that.
That's one of your attachments.
I got all you talking, I got everybody talking.
Yeah, he may have
Get in
it.
there.
He may have it. Yeah.
That's one of the biggest attachments we're going to need.
I think there's 4 apartments, 2?
Yeah, could be. But
2 or 4?
they're turning. Well, they're working all over.
We do have an unusually high in the senior buildings right now. Unfortunately, we did lose some folks. So right now, I'll be able to print it up before the end of the meeting.
Another question I have, if a veteran is in the studio, he cannot stay in the studio because it's too, doesn't he get first preference?
Yeah, he can always come in and talk to us.
Well, he did, and nothing's happened.
No. Have him come in and talk to us and accompany him if you wish. Because we do that across the board for folks.
Oh,
Frank, I can answer that.
Yes, Jackie, thank you.
In 220 Adams, we only have 2 vacant units.
Monroe.
In Monroe,
No,
we have
but I'm
6.
saying this, right, Monroe has 6. So out of the amount, it's an unusually high versus the other, so we have, 6 and the 2, she says. But Jackie, you might be able to answer a little bit about when those are going to be turned over. That's what Jeannie was asking about, the senior building.
I'm working in 221. I have 2 units that we're working on. We don't have a team in 220 Adams right now. There's actually only 2 units vacant in that building. So once we're completed in 221, we'll go over to 220. But in total, we have a total of 18 units that are vacant. And I'm working on 13.
That's really good.
And that's across the entire campus, 18?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a great job, Jack. And again, unit turnover is management and maintenance. It's always working together, hand in hand.
Okay, is there supplies, because I got told they don't have supplies to clean, to do nothing. The girl in this building, she cleans with just plain water, and the water is filthy.
Well, that's
And she said she doesn't have supplies.
Sammy, you want to talk about that?
Well, I would actually have to reach out to Joseph, which is the BMW supervisor. They technically probably told her not to run the bleach through the floor because they just previously been stripped and waxed, and any chemical thrown on the wax is just going to lift it.
We're just giving them a chance, and there's chemical in the...
On the floors. So that's probably why she's not using bleach, because the floors had just been previously waxed. Right, so the simple green...
I got you both talking at the same time.
I just want to answer you real quick. The simple green is actually a grease cutter. So the grease cutter for the wax is no good. So we try to maintain it just with either cold water to keep up the shine and dust them out. The bathrooms, that's another conversation. I will follow through with Joseph and find out why is he not providing chemicals and for the free cleaning detergent for the bathrooms.
But she should have everything she needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not a
It's
dirty
not.
supply.
I mean, she mops the floors,
Right.
but she don't sweep.
She doesn't dust mop?
No.
Because they actually have an 18-inch
The other day I
dust
was
mop.
watching her cleaning Yolanda's office.
Okay.
She went in there, she just brought a mop and a pail, and that was it, and that's how she did it.
I will follow through with Joseph.
Yes.
I will definitely follow through with Joseph.
Well, you'll meet with them tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Find out what's
Absolutely.
going on with the BMW here. Because that's not right.
Yeah,
Something-
if we need to
I mean, she doesn't
we
speak
change
English,
everything,
so
but
I, interpret, but
Yeah.
she doesn't.
I would definitely talk to him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, love this report. Thank you for the trend. Unfortunately, I'm reading it right. You've got a troubling trend.
I'm sorry, I'm having a problem hearing you. You just speak into the microphone.
I said, Frank, I very much appreciate the trend analysis here. It's very helpful information. But if I'm reading it right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the trend's going in the wrong direction. And I based it on the fact that I look at May 24, and it says 1 month or less, 194 units. And I look at your June report, and it says 1 month or less, 220 units. So it's gone up 10%. Then I look over 1 month, it's gone from 257 to 324, almost a 20% increase. What happened in June?
So what we are seeing is the cumulative effect of not getting to court. So those families who are in default some of them are at flat rent. So that number, that's why this number keeps going up. The good news is that when we get to court, out of this million, a little million two, 900,000 of it belongs to the 38 families. You see how we have like all those other, in this month in particular, there was a spike in non-payment of rent. I don't know. We normally see that like in December when people are ready to buy gifts. There was an unusual spike. It was 8.5% of non-payment of rent. New families that didn't pay rent this month for whatever reason, right? So it could be that people are holding back for summer vacations or I don't know. But you're right on that. But as far as that's the tenant accounts receivable side, so I guess each line separately, and I do. That's why I love. You're right. I love this report because it allows this conversation, right?
Yes.
Because I think that's what's so important, that everybody understands that $1 million that's missing there, that's what's preventing us from doing the services and getting to the sport court.
And that's that, you said that's the 38 families, roughly?
That's the 38 families have the lion's share of the money that's like Commissioner Edwards said, we did have a spike in families. The average has been less than what this month is. But once we get past the first batch, I anticipate two things happening. A good chunk of those families won't show up. A good chunk of the families will show up with some money down and a repayment plan. And then families who are in the waiting might say, you know what, I don't even want to go to court. I don't even want to go to court. Maybe they'll just take the opportunity to come in and talk to us. And we want to speak to anybody right now. Anybody who, before we go to court, even to the day before court, if you want to show up and we can, obviously now we're at the point that if you do receive a court date, we would have to do a court date type agreement. It's just a pre-agreement before we get to court, right? For example, whatever the terms that we would agree to in court, right, is what we would agree to somebody who we already have a court date for. Correct.
So let me just, if you don't mind, Frank,
Yes,
I know you alluded to it, I can address it a little bit more in terms of the timeline. I've been given assurances from the court that they have broken a backlog of sorts. So that I've been told that within the next week, we should have docket numbers assigned to those 38 cases.
All
38? Yes, hopefully. That would be about the next week or so, and then within about 10 days to 2 weeks after that, depending upon the holiday, we should expect that court dates will be set and that the service on the defendants would happen. And once that's done, my hope is that by the time we come back here next month, I can say to you, in a matter of weeks before the end of July, we will have court dates and hopefully have resolutions on those 38 cases. We also have, following quickly after that, the next group of cases to be filed, which I've been given assurances that those hopefully will move with a similar pace. So that once we do get to that mid to late July court date, we may then have a mid to late August, whatever that is, court date, and get on a more regular schedule going forward. So the plan, Frank, at least what we've discussed is there's no reason why when people get served and they come into the authority before the day of court, you cannot start talking to them about the parameters of a court-sanctioned repayment agreement. My advice is, in general, unless there's an extreme circumstance, 504 situation, something like that, that anyone who wants to enter into one of those agreements would be required to go to court on the day of court, because there's always a chance that the judge will want to ask some questions, first of all. And second of all is, and I don't mean to sound cold-hearted, but these are people who haven't paid rent for significant periods of time. The housing authority shouldn't exactly be in the habit of making it terribly convenient to not pay your rent and then get a repayment agreement. So that would be the two focuses. The main one being that a judge may ask questions, and if that's the case, we want to be there so that we can answer those questions. We don't want to put it off and have the authority have to show up a second time. And the other is that we are more than willing to work with families, but we don't want to make it easy to not pay your rent. So that's I think the answer to your question. Does that address your question?
If I could just ask the follow-up, right? So it's $1 million, let's just call it $1 million for argument's sake. Worst case scenario, you have 30 families that, you know, are by the judge ruled that they no longer live in the housing authority. That doesn't repay the $1 million, right? So are we and have we continued to start thinking about strategies to overcome that $1 million deficit, and what are they and how else can we help?
You want me to? Yeah. So we have discussed that, and that's absolutely correct, Commissioner. It's an excellent point that the landlord-tenant process is a process for possession of the unit. It is not a money judgment process. So if the housing authority gets a judgment in that case, it would be judgment for possession of the unit. You would have to file a separate action depending upon the size of the amount owed in the special civil part. Some would be small claims. Some would be still a special civil part, which is kind of a truncated court process. There may be some amounts that are so high that they are a full civil division filing, which is going to take longer. But you would file a collection action in each of those cases for a money judgment, which would continue to build as long as that person is in the unit. If they do vacate, it would stop, but they'd be able to go after the judgment. The advice that we've given the authority is it's always better to bring those cases sooner rather than later once you have judgment. Sure. Because you still have the financial information if you need to levy. You have bank account information if you need to levy. So that would be the reason to act quickly. However, our advice, at least for the time being, until the housing authority gets a process going, is we would wait until you have the judgment of possession. Because until you have the judgment of possession, you still have some leverage to collect that money. And that's the goal. The goal is to let the family stay in the unit, but start collecting that money. So you don't necessarily want to jump to the collection step first, because if you do a collection, and we've talked about how the authority might do that, but a standard rate for anybody who's doing the collection, whether it's an attorney or a collection agency, whatever, is usually about 30%. So while you still have that leverage of the lockout and possession of the unit, you don't have to give up that 30%. But if you get possession and you do decide to go the collection route, you're probably giving up 30% of whatever you collect.
So just to that point, I think maybe we should, in subcommittee, talk about potential strategies. What, you know, in my opinion, right, we're not going after the family who owes, you know, $62, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to waste time, energy, and resources on something like that. But I think we should probably have a larger discussion about how we're going to go about trying to recoup whatever money we can.
And that's absolutely correct, Commissioner. And I mean, housing authority is free to go about it however they want. There is a provision in our contract to do the collections. We have done it before. However the authority wants to proceed, we have discussed that, essentially that there should be a broader strategy for how that's done. Your example, the family that owes a small amount of money, usually the main income would be SSI in that situation, which you can't go after anyway. So there's going to be a lot of situations where it's probably going to be a complete write-off for the authority in terms of the judgment of the day. When the person vacates the unit, you're never going to see that money again. But there are a decent amount of these instances, obviously, with this high amount, particularly the flat rent, where someone is working and has serious income, and there is an ability for the authority to collect on that.
And then Director, just one follow-up to that. Are there any, and I think we talked about this in the past a little bit, are there any federal programs that can help to kind of offset that $1 million for us? Any things that we can advocate for with our congressperson and our state senators, where we can kind of get in the room with them and say, hey, we have this $1 million shortfall. Is there anything out there, right? Like, is there a grant? Is there, you know, whatever? Trying to make up that number.
I understand your question, and to my knowledge, the answer is no. HUD has put out a recent rule, again, saying that they, in our scoring from HUD, they score us on the amount of tenant accounts receivables we have. And they've again put out a notice this year, because this is such a national issue, that they're going to give a grace period for another year for housing authorities, because this is happening across the country.
Right.
Very same thing we're going through. And in all of those talks, they never raise their hand and say, here's some money to make up for that lost rent. Never.
Is there a way we could do some of that privately?
Yes, across the river, NYCHA, New York City put in money and they distributed it to...
So county monies, state monies,
and they help people...
City monies.
Well, if you're talking about some organization like the city or the county or governmental agency or a nonprofit that wants to help a resident pay their bill, yes, sure, we'd be really open to that. And you know, the federal program is gone now, because there was a rental assistance program that went on that's gone now. But something like that, we'd be really open to.
And what about, I mean, listen, Hoboken is amazing in the charity that's given across the board for a ton of different organizations, right? Like I'll use, you know, HPAF as an example. They raise $250,000 on average, probably more at this point, per year, right? And that's just a general fundraising kind of effort for our school system. Is there a way that we potentially could do something like that, or are there any prohibitions for us that we can't do that?
I don't think there would be a prohibition, Councilor. I don't think there'd be anything that says we can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
One participate sometime.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger conversation too.
We'll take 100 at 250.
One final thing that we must do and we will do is, soon there's a thing called debts owed to housing authorities. So as soon as we get a judgment, that goes into the HUD system, and they cannot go get housing for the rest of their life anywhere until they pay us. So if let's say they go to the Hawaii Housing Authority, they show up, they want to get housing, they say, oh, you owe Hoboken $10,000. So they call us and they say, do they owe you the money still? Yes. If they clear the money with us, they can release it. And I've seen that happen.
Yes.
So it's a Hail Mary, but it's one final thing that, because unfortunately we all know that the course of life is that at some point we might need it again.
Right. You might need it again?
We might need it again, right? So even if as we do better, and then just the natural curve of life. Right?
Understood. I appreciate it, and thanks for...
Thank you for that. Frank, I would just like to note as we go to the maintenance, to say again, and we've said this many times here, and I think Ms. Waiters, for example, may have left, but you know, we have a number of layers here. We've got, if you think one of my staff is not doing the right thing, feel free to come to me with what you've got. If you feel that I'm not the right person, you can go to any one of these board members. If that doesn't feel right, you've got the county prosecutor that you can go to. You've got HUD Newark that you can go to. You've got the HUD IG, Inspector General, that you can go to. You got the regional office of HUD that you can go to. So what I say is please do it. I am committed to running this organization by the rules. and we run it by the policy and the rules. And again, it doesn't always make everybody happy. I understand that. But if you do think that one of our staff anywhere, including myself, is doing wrong, please bring that evidence to the right place, because I would like to see it cleared up and the rumors go. But I just want to make that comment in between management and maintenance, because some people come in and say our managers aren't doing right, but no one brings evidence. It's rumor. So that's a killer. So thank you. On our maintenance report, we are going to be changing our work order call-in system in July. We've had a system that each site calls their manager, puts in a work order, and calls that number after hours, and that number gets switched over. We are going back, haven't had it for a long time, to one maintenance call-in number for all work orders. So you'll be seeing that coming in July. We'll have handouts and everything to everybody. We just ordered the fridge magnets. So, you know we're serious when we order fridge magnets. We will have that work order report for you in July. I had mentioned in the minutes last time, this month's been too crazy, so we'll get it to you in July. I do have our plumbing report as our attachment D, our extermination report as attachment E. Attachment F is our elevator report, and I'll stop there just for a second because that attachment does show you all the calls that have been responded to and answered over the last month, but also I should address the 320 and 321 issues that we're having. Those elevators are, in fact, 24 years old. So they are having some issues. Sammy, you want to summarize for us?
Yeah.
I can go, but
Yes.
you've been closest to
I
it.
can summarize it. So we've been having issues with the elevator over at 321 Harrison Street, which had a bad bounce to it. So the technicians came on site. The ropes need to be changed. The brace needed to be adjusted because the brace is what was holding the elevator from actually moving at the pace that it should be moving. So that's being taken care of. That's also an issue why the elevator's been flimsy, going on and off. Happens to be that the 320 Jackson elevator is under the same issue. So the cables need to be replaced. The cables are pretty old. The brake system is doing the same thing, and being that the brake system is actually locking up, has damaged the motor as well. So we were supposed to go to replace the cables for 321 Harrison. We postponed it because it still operates, to jump and try to get this approved to get the 320 Jackson elevator taken care of first.
So 321 was going to be closed down
for a couple days.
Monday, Tuesday.
Yes.
So what we've done is postpone those repairs. Those are like advanced repairs on 321 because all of a sudden 320 went down.
320 went down.
Right? So they came in and took a look at 320 and said, no, we got to shut this down. We can't open this elevator back up. So we have now signed the order for them to come in and refurbish 320. Unfortunately,
they have to take the motor out and work on the motor.
Yeah. So they've got to take the motor out at 320 at this point, and we just found this out today, we're probably talking 5 days.
Yes.
Right?
We're talking 8 days. 8 days.
8 days.
8 days.
Thank you. Not happy about it. It is what it is. And then once 320 is fixed, we're going to have to do the same thing at 321. That will give us effectively new running elevators, but we must do this. Go on.
Yeah, they are 24 years old.
Yeah.
So, they need it.
Yeah.
I mean, you carry the capacity of the elevator is 1,200 pounds, and sometimes you got more than anybody jumping inside the elevator trying to get up to the top floor.
So
the wear and tear on it is pretty crazy.
So during that time, we'll have flyers out tomorrow, but during that time, as everyone knows, if you need some special service, call your manager. And we'll get you whatever we can do for you, we will. We have Danny working up services today. We're stocking up on water for folks that might need some water. We will be.
We would treat it the same way we treated 310 Jackson.
Right.
So if anyone has any groceries or any heavy loads that need to be picked up, you reach out to your manager or Daniel. he'll reach out to us and we'll help out in whichever way we can.
Yes. And in an emergency, we have had the fire department come and carry somebody down a few times if they had to go to the doctor or something. So we've got all the contacts we need, and if somebody needs something, please give a call. Now, we know it's difficult, we know it's a burden, but we really have no choice here. These buildings were built with one elevator. And for those of you that live in new buildings, you know the elevators break in new buildings too. But these are old, and we've got no way around this. We must do this for the safety of the residents. So that's where we are in the elevators right now. And again, just call your manager if there's any outstanding issue that you have. If you think you're going to need some help, we'll have a maintenance guy come over and help. Attachment G is our maintenance contractor report. That's for extraordinary maintenance that we had a contractor do. We're currently accepting applications for part-time building maintenance workers, and as a matter of fact, if we've got skilled workers, we're in the market for some maintenance repairmen as well. If you've got any specific cleaning or repair needs, please call it in. And we continue to meet with city representatives to coordinate our activities on trash. I talked about trash already. Our boiler crew is working on the final shutdown of our systems after the winter. Yay, boiler crew, you kept us warm all winter long. Kudos to our boiler crews.
With minimal issues.
Minimal issues this year. They're doing well. They're doing well. Finance is working on, we're going to be on our, I put this in, our annual and 5-year plan is going to be due. So we're going to be meeting with the new committee that is what? The procurement and something.
Finance.
Thank you. The Finance and Procurement Committee to talk about the annual and 5-year plan. We're going to be having a hearing on that. We've already talked to, I believe, the RAB board. Emil came to the RAB board at the last meeting while I was out of town and did a presentation on it. And we'll be presenting it to the subcommittee and then bringing it to the full board. Then on finance, I would like, if I can, if you wouldn't mind, Commissioner Edwards, to hand it over to you for our meeting last night.
Sure. I thought it was a very productive meeting. We've worked through the formatting of the finances and a presentation in a format that we can present to the board and that we can also review at the Finance Committee meeting. We're tying it into the list of bills so that they all fit together and it's easy to see them. We've come up with a game plan of priorities for the next 6 months. We're looking at setting the meetings for those. It's going to be a busy and full schedule. We've got the audit that's coming up. We've got the agreement to the format of these financials.
I'm sorry, we've got I just have it in front of me.
The audit.
And the agreement to the format?
And then the agreement on the format of the presentation of the financials to both the board and to the Finance Committee. We've also got the budget to prepare and present to this committee at the July meeting. And there's a number of other things that we are working on. So again, I think it was a productive meeting. I think it's probably best to stop there because these things are still being finalized. But at the July meeting, a number of these items will come before the commission for review and as needed approval. And I don't know, the other two representatives, anything you wanted to add?
No, only that it was very productive. I was happy we all got in a room and hashed a lot of that out, so I appreciate it.
I just wanted to say, like I said to you yesterday, Commissioner Edwards, I'm new to finance. Finance is not my thing, right? So I'm on the pre-K level, and he kind of has to start it off from that level, but I did learn a lot yesterday from the meeting, so I appreciate it.
Great.
And from my side, I'd also like to express my appreciation for Commissioner Edwards. You knew you coming on in and you're seeing some changes you want to make, and we really appreciate that. We're all here to do better. So thank you.
Thank you.
The Housing Finance Agency project really hasn't changed from last time. We're really waiting on them for final closeout documents, sign the final documents, and we're out the door. So that money's been spent, and I think by the time we get all this done, the loan will be completely forgiven, because it's being forgiven at 20% per year. The audit, as Commissioner Edwards mentioned, is due by June 30th. We don't have it yet. Auditor's preparing it. The budgets for the project-based vouchers and batch vouchers are being finalized, and Finance continues to work on contract management and publication of RFPs and RFQs. And I think the last part of my report is resident services, and you'll be sorry to hear that Mr. Daniel Perez couldn't be here with us tonight, so I can give a short one. Fox Hill tomorrow, 5:30, Father's Day. Phil Cohen is sponsoring a band over at Fox Hill. So tomorrow night, 5:30, Fox Hill. HHA and the library is doing a Juneteenth celebration, 1 to 3 p.m. at Mama Johnson Field on the 20th. The 2024 Southwest Festival is coming. Yay, June 23rd. All right, so come and be festivalized with us on Harrison. Special thanks again, I keep saying this, but to Councilman Russo, to Ruben Ramos, who really pushed this to make this happen again this year, the Hoboken Business Alliance, our residents, the McDonald family, who we always lean on for great stuff out there, and so many more. And July 10th is going to be the Veilstones basketball tournament on our basketball court on July 10th.
No, July 7th.
Yeah, the 7th.
Is it the 7th?
Yes, it's the 7th.
I
August
am
10th
so
is
sorry. Thank you. I'm so sorry. So yes, the 7th, and so that's going to be on Sunday, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So stop by. It's really been a great event the past few years, and I think again you'll see our young folks playing. You'll see our families out. And all of us having some fun. So look forward to seeing you all there. And that concludes my report.
Director, I just have a few questions.
Yes.
So behind 320 and 321 Harrison, there is a ramp, right? I'll be honest with you. It looks scary to me.
Yeah.
And I'm young, right? So I worry because I know in that building we have one senior who's 95 years old, right? And has to use that. So that's a concern. First, I'd like to know why it's there, right? Second is how long do we plan on having it there? And are we positively sure that it is absolutely safe?
We are positively sure that it is absolutely safe.
Okay.
We jumped on it, ran on it. It is there because we are rebuilding the ramp in the back of the building.
Okay.
And because that ramp was getting ready to fall in, we are very close to done. All they have to do now is finish the railings. They poured the concrete and they have to give it about 5 days for the concrete to cure before they put the railings in. Once those railings are in, that big ramp, that temporary ramp's going to come down. So you could see in about a week from now that it comes down. But that was essential because particularly that gentleman had no way to get in if we didn't do the temporary ramp.
Okay.
So it was necessary in order for him to get in. We explored a number of different options. We looked at lifts. We looked at everything was $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and this was considerably cheaper to put this in. And I know it's ugly, but it won't be there for long.
Okay, that's great. My second thing is, I think it was brought up tonight with the whole Board of Education, or I don't even want to say Board of Education, 10-month employees. I know that Jasenia and Frank have taken the time to actually explain to me how it works. It doesn't affect me specifically. I am a 12-month employee. But I think it is very important that we educate our residents, because I think for however long before this came into play, right? All the residents, and I've gotten about 6 residents who have approached me on this,
who have said every time I go down there and I do my lease, like nothing is said to me about, you know, about the fact that I don't work July and August. And usually what happens is during those 2 months, my rent then goes down to as a no-income individual, because they don't. If you're in the Board of Education, you're not entitled to unemployment benefits, so you have no income during those 2 months. So what they're being told now is if they're paying $1,200 rent during their regular 10-month period, during July and August, they still must pay the $1,200 a month. And I can understand as a resident how concerning that could be for someone who has no income coming in on those 2 months. So if we could, as a board, I guess, get an understanding of how and why, and when did it change? And also, I think it's really important that we have something in writing to give them. Not a flyer that says this, something in writing that says this is HUD policy, this is how we're supposed to do it. Because, you know, people, not everybody, you know, when you see a flyer, it doesn't mean that HUD mandates it. It's a flyer that anybody could have made. So I think it's really important that not only do you educate these commissioners who get those questions, but also because we are in a public meeting and we're online, I think it'll be a great way to get the word out. And also, you know, just so that we all have the understanding and we're all on the same page.
I can help with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the first part of it is, it's not new. So I want to start with that. So what it is that, yes, there are folks who work for the school system. So let's use a round number, $10,000. Not that anybody makes $10,000. Let's say you make $10,000 a year working at the school. There's one way to do it is you pay something that we figure out your annualized amount based on that, and you pay an amount every month, even Stephen, for the whole year. That amount would be slightly lower because it would be averaged out for the year. So let's say if you make $10,000 for the year and you divide it by 12 months, that monthly amount would be small. If we did it the 10-month way, basically you would pay a lot more in the months that you're working and then zero in the summer. That flyer that went out is not a flyer that went door to door. What that is a tool to help explain that, because it is a confusing concept. So that way, a person who is getting paid through the school system, they can fill that in with the manager. We're not asking the family to fill it. What we're doing is we're filling that out with them so that they can see how much they would pay if they did it monthly and how much they would pay 10 months or if they did it the whole year. And then it basically comes out to the same at the end of the year, what you came out of pocket. It's just what's comfortable for you. Do you want to pay a little bit more the months that you're working and nothing in the summer because you don't get a check? Or would you rather pay an even amount all year round and you manage your money? So those are the two options. They're not new. It's just how you can calculate rent for someone who only gets paid for 10 months out of the year.
And we're not limiting one option over the other.
No,
We're saying we still have both options.
But what you do have to do is once you pick one, you can't switch to the other one halfway because then,
Sure.
then you would circumvent the process.
Sure, understood.
But
I think, and just correct me if I'm wrong, I think where the confusion comes in is that we're all told that your rent is calculated by 30% of your income, right? So if during the months of July and August you have no income, at that point, how do you calculate 30%? And I may be wrong, you know what I mean? You guys are the experts.
which is why we let the family make that choice.
Well, I think it's 30% of the annual.
Of the annual income.
Okay.
Right, right.
So I think this is good, right? Because now this,
thank you.
this kind of tells everybody what we can, you know.
When you only work 10 months.
Yes.
I can't. I'm sorry, let them.
So the answer, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, the answer would be in those 2 months, if you had no income and you chose that option, you'd be paying the minimum rent.
Right, you'd
which
be
is
paying
$50.
But you would pay more during the 10 months.
Correct.
Okay.
So say your 30% of your annual income is, let's say it's $1,200, just for the sake of argument. If you choose the 12-month option, you're paying $100 for each of the 12 months. If you choose the 10-month option, essentially, because you're not working for those 2 months, you're paying $120 a month, correct me if I'm wrong, $120 a month for 10 months, which is $1,200. Then you're also paying $50 a month for 2 months. So you're paying more if you pay over 10 months as opposed to if you spread it out over 12 months.
Interesting you use that example because that's actually
Got
one
it.
example where it actually goes against it. Usually it's even Steven, that particular example, because we have a minimum rent of 50, that would be the case, because it wouldn't go to zero. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Could we just take a 5-minute break after this, guys? You can-
I was just gonna say, so I understand that sometimes it's not feasible for certain residents, but if you are able to do it, it's more advantageous to spread it out over 12 months.
Correct.
But I understand that's not always feasible.
So I think where the confusion is, and I think I was confused, you just hit on it, Mr. Edwards, is that it's 30% of your annual income, not your monthly income, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think, this is good. Okay.
5 minutes?
5 minutes,
5 minutes.
please.
5 minutes. 5 minute break.
We'll line up the because I'm not, because most people are asking.